So what's up, guys? In this video, I'm using X-Borg as a jungler, and I feel like he's underrated right now. He actually got a buff in the recent update, which improved his early game. In this match, I countered Lucas, who was also the enemy's jungler, and that hero is currently one of the top junglers. I started with the purple buff because I was planning to visit the gold lane in my first rotation, and X-Borg clears jungle creeps fast. He's not that slow even though I'm using a tank emblem on him. That's probably because of the true damage from his first skill. That's why X-Borg is great against tanky enemies like fighters and tanks. He can easily melt them. That's also why he can go toe-to-toe with Lucas as a jungler. For me, Lucas is really the best jungler for solo players right now, and knowing a hero that can counter him is a big advantage. But you should also know how to use Lucas, so when he's open, it's worth it to first pick him. And you won't have to worry if the enemy picks him, because you have a counter, which is Xborg. What's great about fighter junglers is that they're not dependent on the purple buff, and they can serve as both initiator and finisher. Plus, they can handle themselves well during objectives. You won't be too dependent on the roamer. Just like in this situation, there were 3 enemies at the turtle and I was alone, but I still managed to steal it and escape. Glue wouldn't let go of me here, so he dove in too deep and ended up getting killed. By the way, the emblem I'm using on Xborg is the tank emblem with Impure Rage. The tank emblem works well for him because of the extra HP, which is super important for Xborg since it also increases his Faraga armor, making it harder to break and preventing him from getting burst down easily. I still see some people using the assassin emblem on Xborg, which doesn't make sense because he doesn't benefit from it. The fighter emblem is still acceptable, but based on what I've seen, the tank emblem is more effective for him, with Impure Rage for extra damage, especially against tanky enemies. Actually, even against mages and marksmen, Xborg already deals a lot of damage, especially once you have War Axe and the orange buff. All the true damage stacks up, so the enemies will definitely feel it no matter who they are. Xborg can also be played in the XP lane, especially when the enemy EXP laner is tanky, where he has a big advantage. That's because in the current meta, most EXP laners are tanky, and Xborg fits well since he's tanky himself, but also deals high damage. He's similar to CC, who's also strong against tanky heroes. But I prefer Xborg right now because he has CC immunity and burst damage from his ultimate. The best part is, you can't burst down Xborg no matter how much damage you have. That makes him effective against burst heroes like Kadita, Kagura, or Saber, as long as you're not behind in gold. It's like Xborg has 2 lives, and with immortality, it's like 4. Then when you do buy and sell, he becomes really hard to kill. Masha also has 3 lives, but she's squishier, though her damage is stronger. I was able to kill Lucas here, and Glue followed right after him, which gave us an opportunity to take down Madara, and we did get him. But then my teammates overextended and Guinevere got killed. Did you see what happened on the map? Moskov was just clearing minions while Guinevere was already fighting, and then our mage casually stealing my buff. We all know it's nothing new to have a damage EXP laner and a damage roamer, which makes it tough for you as a jungler if you're using an assassin, because no one will face the enemies head-on during teamfights or objectives. That's why sometimes it's really better to have multiple options, even if you only main one role. And for those who don't know, when Xborg uses his ultimate, the damage is stronger if you manually trigger the explosion compared to letting the enemy pop it. So if your Faraga armor is already low while you're ulting, it's better to click your ultimate yourself, instead of letting enemies trigger it. That's also a tip when you're against an Xborg. If you can burst him down even while he's ulting, do it right away. At this point, it seemed like we could finish the game, but we ran out of minions and our Marksman was Dark System. You could already tell from the build. It didn't make sense to build Haas Claw and Golden Staff together. Here we were pushing the turret, and the Marksman was just standing there. And in the end, Kagura managed to kill him. It looks like the Mage and Marksman were probably duo partners because I had 2 duo teammates here. Both of their heroes were strong at pushing, but they were pretty clueless.
Busted those liars in Eruditio!
So here we were able to kill Chow, and Moskov's ultimate even landed, but he didn't teleport in because he wanted to go for Lord. But in situations like this, when the enemy base is already exposed, down to half HP, and 2 waves of mega minions are coming in while the enemy team is incomplete, it should have been an easy finish, especially since we had Chang'e and Moskov, both capable of tower locking. I mean, just look, this could have been over if Moskov was there. I could easily zone or even kill the remaining enemies while they focus on turret locking. But I guess it's still okay, since at least he did something and managed to secure the Lord. The problem is, 3 of our teammates were dead, so they were late to the Lord push. That made it hard to position properly, and the minion flow wasn't ideal either. But our marksman died instantly. That's why the game dragged on. This is exactly what happens when your marksman is on dark system. Even if you're clearly ahead, once the marksman starts throwing, there's a high chance the enemy can recover and make a comeback. Just look at his build later. He built Haas Claw and Golden Staff together. I mean, sure, Moskov's passive can crit when his spear passes through and hits someone behind the main target, but it doesn't crit on the main target itself. And most of the time, you're only hitting one hero anyway. Even if you hit someone in the back, your main focus should always be to kill the target in front first. That's the whole point of proper targeting. If that kind of build were really effective, you'd see pro players using it, but they don't. Because they know it's not reliable to just depend on backline hits to trigger criticals and passive from Haas Claw or Berserker's Fury, while your main target barely takes any damage since it doesn't even crit. So yeah, Ruby started trash-talking him. She's been at it for a while now. He's always missing when we need him the most. Then he goes and says they're just enjoying the game? Really? They're enjoying being carried. That's how Dark System players are nowadays. While you're doing all the hard work, they're just having fun because they're not struggling at all. Of course, it's easy to enjoy the game when you're the one being carried. So there, we managed to kill Glue, and I was about to take Lord since we couldn't end the game anyway, especially with our marksman up in the top lane and me not having enough damage for the turret. But just look at what happens to the marksman again. He gets killed, just like that. Completely useless. That's why I decided to focus on Kagura first, and temporarily left the Lord. I ended up using my ultimate here, though I think it wasn't really necessary, so my Faraga armor was kind of wasted. But it's fine. I can recover it quickly anyway since it doesn't take long to build up stacks. So I was able to kill Harith here, and Lucas managed to escape. But he used his retribution and he definitely had to recall. He didn't also have his beast form anymore, so taking the Lord should have been easy for us. But then Chu and Glue still tried to contest the Lord, probably just hoping for a miracle steal. They must have felt that if we got the Lord, it was basically game over for them. The Lord was almost stolen, but luckily I was the one who secured it. I even chased Glue afterward, but he was just too fast, so I couldn't finish him off. So here it is. The Lord's already inside the enemy base, and most likely the game's about to end since we've got a ton of minions and our team is complete. It's super easy to finish this as long as Moskov and Chang'e turret lock while I zone out the enemies and buy time. Good thing I didn't die here and my KDA stayed clean. So yeah, we won, and just look at the turret damage. I even had more turret damage than Moskov. Like, how is that even possible? Isn't the whole point of having a marksman to help push faster?